In today's Almond Matters, we're joined once again by our friend Todd Burkdoll, Field Market Development Specialist with Valent U.S.A. And now, Todd, we've talked a bit about keeping the crop safe from navel orangeworm here at Whole Split, but what are some of the approaches growers can take to help mitigate disease problems that may become a problem come harvest?
Well, there's whole rot, Brian. You know that sometimes gets neglected because of most PCAs are on top of it, but whole rot can definitely be. Usually a complex of diseases. Once you get whole split, if there's spores out there, monolinea is one of them. Aspergillus. There's several that get in there and cause the proliferation of the disease to propagate. But once it's inside, it's really hard to control. So getting a whole rot application, and I know this just adds to the cost for that spray pre-harvest application, but it can definitely be that ounce of prevention that is worth a pound of cure when you don't have problems with whole rot going into the process because they'll get knocked out, and then you got other issues there. So basically, it's a sanitation issue, keeping the nuts clean of fungal pathogen. And putting it on prior to whole split or right at whole split is really key. Again, I like Quash because it's systemic and it's very broad spectrum. It's the best triazole to put on for whole rot as far as triazole fungicides go. So if you haven't used up your maximum use of Quash already, it's a good time to put that on at whole split or right at the beginning of whole split to curtail whole rot.
And now, with harvest in mind here and getting prepared for that, even though we're still quite a ways out, what will growers want to keep front of mind when it comes to ants and keeping them from becoming a real problem?
Well, Brian, ants are problematic to the nut, especially protein feeding ants. They're attracted to those nuts. Once you shake them and put them on the ground, that's a food source. And if there's ants out there, they will probably find them because you've got nuts scattered all over the entire orchard. This is before you sweep them. And during that period, if you get ants infesting nuts, starting to chew on them, then you can actually, they can damage, obviously they can damage the nut. And then once you windrow them, sweep them up and windrow them and then pick them up, if those ants are still in there, they'll continue to do damage. And then they take them wherever they're going to take them. And if they store them for any length of time, the ants continue to do damage. So it's better to knock them out early in the game rather than have them out there when you're putting nuts on the ground. Prior to shaking, you need to have some type of ant control in place. There's a lot of good products out there. The baits typically work well because they take the bait back to the colony and the colony gets knocked out. One of the products that I like that I've been using is Esteem Ant Bait. For the simple reason is it sterilizes the queen. The eggs she lays are no longer viable, and basically the colony collapses. And usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on heat and food storage or what they've got available. But you can figure about 3 weeks after application, the colony collapses. And basically due to that sterilization of the queen, and then the nymphs don't molt on to the next stage, mimics a juvenile hormone, and they stay juvenile, but their body continues to grow, and it's a disaster. When you think about it, it's like a science fiction movie, but it's real. It happens, and it's chemical warfare that knocks them out. But getting on top of ants early is definitely key to controlling them. Once they've infested nuts and start feeding, and once you've got nuts on the ground, then you can't really put anything out there anymore. So it's before you shake, you need to get something out there to knock the ants out. We used to use Lorsban as a broadcast spray, and that just blanket spray of Lorsban across the orchard floor. That's no longer available, and I'm not sure how effective it was. It killed on contact, but didn't take it back to the colony. So I'm a very much a proponent of baits that they feed on and then take it back to the colony, and the colony, of course, collapses. It's not real fast, but it's very effective.